I want to caution everyone again. That there is this fevered pitch of I don't want to say distractions because that's not fair. There is this massive amount of shit coming out right now that is being hugely pushed in the alternative media. I mean, hugely. And I'm watching yet again as another one rolls out, because there's always one. It's like we said, each of these things happens. It's just to keep everyone distracted and focused on one thing. And of course, that's with the forest fires. And every single person and their grandmother saying it's due, it's due, it's due. Sorry. It's a laser beam from the sky that's been activated with HARP and all the rest of it for some reason that no one's really sure of. And I've seen multiple theories thrown out there of why they're burning down California. Although, yet again, like I said, California is not the only place that's burning right now. Or is it in the greater scheme of things, all the other shit that we're seeing going on, like the magnetics of the planet, going completely kaflamo-kaflooey. Pardon my scientific terminology. We know whatever happens to the magnetics, reaction in the electrical. Those fields go in hand in hand. It's too easy to get caught up in the horrifying stories. Our heart goes out so strongly to everyone in California. We've had a shit ton. We've got unfuckers who have had family members who've lost everything. We know that it's been devastating. We got unfuckers who are down there right now trying to rescue pets, trying to help people within the communities. It is horrific what has happened. And I just caution everyone to not be so quick to jump onto a bandwagon that everyone is pushing. Because it's my opinion that every single time you get one extreme viewpoint that gets pushed, and not only just gets pushed, but really gets pushed to the point that it becomes absolutely viral and everyone's talking about it, very rarely does that actually turn out to be the truth. And they've got to keep people away from figuring out the truth. And I keep saying this. If you're the government or the cabal or the fucking whoever, if you're the corporations, whoever, they're going to do everything to hide the truth. If the bullshit is in fact. So you got PG and is it PE and power, water?
PG&E.
PG&E. I was right. I was going to say that the first time, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, that sounds like a fucking Procter and Gamble and some kind of a brand name. You got PG&E. They're obviously hiding how much they fuck shit up. PG&E has obviously caused a massive amount of these fires, not just this year, last year and the year before that, etc. Now, they're a big corporation, so we all know. We just watched all the movies that show big corporations don't give a flying fuck. And they will do everything they can to hide the damages they've caused.
On big corporations, you reminds me. You said PG&E being a obviously electric supplier, but General Electric, which was probably about it, about 10 or 15 years ago, was the most valuable company in the world,
Yep.
in terms of assets and shit. I just read an article today where they're just this side of a junk bond status, even with their billions and billions of dollars of assets. And that's into the financials that I'm not that deep into, but there's a lot going on that we don't see on the surface. That's for sure.
There is. Without a shadow of a doubt. There's so much evidence of people coming forward and giving evidence that they know that PG&E are at least responsible for the starting of some of these fires. Whether it's sparks breaking off on transformers, whatever, whether it's the smart meters, okay? Not even a question. These guys are definitely fucking guilty. All I'm cautioning people is do not allow yourself to get sucked into a storyline narrative that could very well be distracting from that, number one. Number two, something other and completely different. Like I'm saying, I talked about this a couple months ago. The plasma discharges, and the ground lightning, and the grounding rods in all the houses. Every fucking house has a grounding rod. And if the electrical plasma discharges are coming out of the ground, that's how you fry houses. All these houses are wired to up the fucking wazoo. There's lithium-ion batteries in every fucking room, on laptops, on phones, etc. These things, have you ever seen what happens if a lithium-ion battery gets damaged and catches on fire? It blows up. It's a bomb. It literally is a bomb. And you have smart fridges, and you have all this fucking technology, and it's all wired through all these houses. You have all these ground rods in the ground. You have all the copper piping that runs in and out of these houses underneath roads. What happens when you put an electric pulse through copper? Copper just loves that shit, and it will carry that. Okay? All I'm saying, be cautious. Be cautious of falling for these part and parcel narratives, because they all have it's like this. They want to steal the land for whatever reason, or they want to do this, or they want to push everyone out. There's always this set reason. Be cautious about jumping on the boat too quickly, because I honestly believe there's a lot more fucking going on here than what we're being led to believe. And I think that the story of the dues and all of this is a deliberate pulling people offside. Because if you completely believe that that's what the truth is, that's what you're going to research, isn't it? You're not going to look for other triggers. You're not going to look for other reasons, because you already have a story and you're just going to follow that. And that's how come everyone right now is all researching dues and HARP and all this kind of stuff. But who's researching the geomagnetics of the planet?
Yeah, who's researching what's right above our fucking heads?
Whatever. What the fuck? Who's researching things like artificial moons and artificial suns that are being put out by China? And who's researching CERN is now crashing heavy lead ions for the first time since 2015. Oh, there that number comes back up again. 2015 in October, November is when they were crashing the lead ions for the first time. The highest power they've ever done it with. Okay? There's a lot more going on Yeah, moksha. Is it to distract from the fact that the natural things are out of control? Honestly, I always keep saying this. The very fact that what they keep saying, going back to, like I said, the in the movie Armageddon, right? Billy Bob Thornton, we can't tell anyone what's coming. If we tell anyone what's going on, mass fucking insanity. The people would lose their fucking minds. No, we got to keep it secret. Yes, Nancy, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to ask you, do you have any theories or conjecture on what you think is causing these magnetic anomalies on the plots?
I'm open to a lot of shit. And this is the whole thing. So throw everything on the table. You have Nibiru, right? That's in here. Your second sun, second solar system, second planet, second whatever. It's a piece. We throw it on the table. It's one piece of the puzzle. We can say, okay, well, there's one theory. Psh, put that here. A large body is going to have its own magnetics, its own electrical fields that could be interacting if it's that close. That's one. The one I more highly favor, though, is the fact that we know, science has told us that we are going through a high energy particle field right now. That as we're going across the ecliptic into the northern hemisphere, we are going into massive, massive cosmic energy, galactic particles, waves, whatever you want to call it. Because they don't fucking know. And if they did know, they're not fucking telling us. You get little bits, you got to fish it out of read tons of studies, and you got to find the little bits and pieces and put the crumbs together. Made this huge article, dark matter hurricane, because okay, let's talk fear porn. And it's really funny because that came out, ran across the mainstream news, and immediately the next day, there was a whole bunch of articles that came up going, oh, yeah, but you know what? Like, you don't need to worry about it. It's all okay. Because obviously they had far too much of an impact with that title than they anticipated, and they needed to dial it back.
I'll throw out another one.
Yeah.
This goes back to ancient scriptures and putting shit together, but it's the Sirius Jupiter Planet X connection, in the sense that Sirius runs the show in this system. Sirius is the sun maker. And in this next skit, Jupiter is it. So Jupiter is about to be the new sun. And Planet X, the way they play it out is Planet X is the lever coming in. You know, they like to illustrate it out, but what it is Planet X collides with Jupiter. Jupiter becomes the new sun.
And I've heard that theory. I read up on that with a bunch of stuff with Sitchin and a bunch of other stuff when I was down that rabbit hole like years ago.
Yeah, that's
But
serious.
the thing is, this is, again, it is just a theory. It's another piece. We'll throw it on the table. Throw it on the table with the whole conglomeration of Nibiru, because no one knows. And there's so many theories of Nibiru in and of itself. But as a whole, we can put it on the table.
Well, they're saying to you, like, okay, so the red Kachina would be Planet X. The blue Kachina is Sirius itself, that it's traveled in for this event. Okay. And that Jupiter, being the gas giant, is up next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's you go into old prophecy. There's all kinds of old prophecy stuff that you can.
Well, that was predicted in 2001 too, Danny. In fact, 2010. That was the end of it. Jupiter became the sun in the fucking movie back when that came out. That was
You know what? Think about Jupiter ascending. They put it in the title.
Yeah. No. Listen, that's what I'm saying. There are pieces there. For me, we can argue, we can discuss, we can throw all the kind of theories and like the old prophecies and stuff, and I do all the time, right? I'll pull up old pieces that come up and old writings that we find, et cetera, and throw them on the table. But I always, like I say, I always look for the grand unifying theory. What is the things that we are seeing that could explain everything, right? So, for example, getting back to the fact of like, we know scientifically, we know, and they have been warning us. They started in Russia, warning us 20 years ago about the high energy area of the galaxy we're going to be moving through, and that the guy who wrote, and see, we don't have Igor isn't here today to tell me the name because I can never say the guy's name, the scientist's name, who said, yeah, the photon belt, who said, we don't know what effects it will have. We can't know. It's not possible. We don't have any concept of how this is going to interact with the human psyche, how it's going to interact with the planet, geologically speaking, how it's going to interact with the magnetics and electrical fields of the planet and the magnetics and electrical fields of people. When we look at everything else that's going on, that to me is one of the pieces that has been in the forefront of my mind for a long time, and has been since 2010. And I've been watching all this stuff. That's the reason why I got into watching all the solar stuff, watching all the planetary stuff, and researching all that kind of science, is because since 2010, that has been a real something that hit me. It was like, oh, this is something to definitely pay attention to. The shorter answer, of course, is the fact that we just don't know. We just don't know. But the continuous lack of any discussion on stuff that's external from the planet, i.e. solar rays, like they're not even talking about the ultraviolet C, UVC, that is now coming into the planet and bombarding us. The news isn't talking about it. The science isn't talking about it. We know it's happening. Obviously, they must know it's happening. They're not talking about it. The geomagnetics of the planet, off the fucking charts. They're not talking about it. Right? So for me, when I see everyone doing things like going, it's dew, it's HARP, it's chemtrails, which everyone's talking about, but no, and there's whistleblowers, there's whistleblowers coming out talking about that stuff, right? The whistleblowers are coming out talking about chemtrails and HARP and dew and all this kind of stuff. But there's none coming out talking about what's going on outside of our planet. No one's talking about it. So my immediate thing is, okay, well, we need to pay attention to what the fuck is going on here, because they're keeping all of our attention down here, trying to get us to look at this, blame that. Yeah, I'm just saying, we need to just try and maintain an equilibrium and just don't get too tied into any one theory, because it's too easy to get tied up into the knots. And then you stop looking. I know, I've done it a fucking 1,000 times, gotten so preoccupied on one specific thing that I stopped looking outside for anything else.
Danny, one thing you do know, and this is for sure, if they're telling it to you, it's a smokescreen on the public media, even in the behind the public media, 2 or 3 levels, probably 4 or 5 levels down. That's a fact.
And the alt media. That's
what I mean. That's what I mean. That's when I say 2 or 3 levels behind that.
Yep.
That's literally true. So how do you learn? Well, I know how I used to learn things. Process of elimination. At least I know what it isn't. Doesn't mean I know what it is, but I know what the hell it's not.
Yeah.
And a good key on that one is, if they're telling it to you, it may be, see, the funny thing is, this stuff is true on one level. Yeah, they probably do have HARP, and they got dew, and they got... Absolutely. So they are true within the context of that. But that's not, but that's used as a lesser truth, and you're looking for the bigger truth.
Yeah.
And I know you operate this way anyway, and most everybody in here does, whether they specifically call it that to themselves or not. That's what they're doing. And we all know that these sons of bitches do nothing but officially lie to us. That's their game. Anyway, I had to
No,
bring that.
and that's just it. This is the. I'm not saying that there isn't something like Dew out there. God knows I did a huge amount of reports back in 2014 on the Rod from God, and I proved conclusively they fucking have that weapon and it's sitting up in space. And who's to say that they don't have a shit ton of others? We know they fucking do, right? HARP we know exists, chemtrails exist. We got the CERN firing off. We've got, I mean, name any number of things that are out there. But that does not mean that that is the be all end all. And that doesn't mean that it is the cause of everything that we're seeing. And more and more research that I've been doing, especially in the last 6 months, I'm actually convinced that it's not the cause of what we're seeing. And that there's so much more there that is far more important for them to hide than the existence of HARP or the existence of chemtrails.